Okay, so welcome back everybody. This is Telstar 1. And historically Telstar 1 was launched in 1962 and it's the only Telstar satellite which was not placed into a geostationary orbit. And it was headed by a consortium, transatlantic communications and television companies, including AT&T in the US, BBC and British Telecom in Britain and worldwide, who also developed the ground station hardware that all the partners used, and TPP in France, named Eurovision, which was a TV station. Okay, I'll try to make it as close as possible to the actual. It was a spherical object, the main satellite itself. You have the number of radio pulse transmitters in order to enable it to be tracked from the ground stations, and it wasn't much more sophisticated really than a slightly larger version of the original Sputnik satellite. Basically what that means is it's a reflector. It was solar powered throughout its entire lifespan, which was about 3 to 5 years. I believe it lived at a longer longevity, and it was actually planned about 6 or 7 years, I believe it lasted for. But as I said, it was interesting. It was a highly eccentric orbit it was actually placed into. 6,500 kilometers at its apoapsis, but only 492 kilometers at its periapsis. That's what I found out. Just alter these. I need to modify all these anyway, so I don't need decoupling the front, it's SRB. So I'm hoping to try and get it in a fairly eccentric orbit. Obviously I've got the Gina package here, which has the 2 ignitions. I'm going to try and put it into a circularized orbit at about 492 kilometers, then ignite the SRB when it comes to its periapsis. And hopefully the periapsis will then flip around, become the apoapsis, and push the apoapsis to, I would say, that's 6,500 kilometers. I'm hoping for. This is basically a solid rocket motor, but it's a procedural one that I've made myself. And it's supposed to run for 20 seconds, but according to the amount of fuel, because of the size of it, it's only 2.9 seconds. So, the contract itself doesn't stipulate any orbital specifications. There's no specifications for the orbit within the contract. But I'm trying to do it as historically accurate as possible. Not because I want to do as I said at the beginning of the year, this entire playthrough, it's not what I've planned to be a It's not what I plan to be like historical reenactments. But every species in the universe that wants to begin space flight will have its first communication satellite, which effectively that's what this is. Technically speaking, it's the first privately owned. Even though I do believe at the time AT&T was partly owned by the US government, and BBC and General Post Office British Telecom was definitely owned by the British government, both of them. BBC still is. It's still a government organisation. BT was sold off back in the 1980s. But GPO, General Post Office, which was technically the named party other than the BBC, is still owned by government because it's basically an eavesdropping centre, even though I'm not supposed to know that. So I don't mention that, does that too loudly. But it's generally accepted that MI5 and MI6 run their spy satellite systems, at least the partially decrypted spy satellite systems, or partially encrypted I should say, traffic through GPO as well. It's one of the largest communication centres in the world. So we're very surprised if secrets aren't passed through, such as spy satellite data and things like that. And as for France, which was the other partner in Europe, headed a TV company which was named Eurovision, which also showed the pictures simultaneously when this satellite went live. So it went from Washington DC, then to London, then flicked to 3 live broadcasts bouncing off the same satellite, and then to Paris. Okay, so I'm going to put the fairings on this. I think that's all the information you really need to know. Like I said, there's no actual specification to the orbit to complete the contract itself. Quite expensive. The more expensive version of the probe core, procedural probe core that I've actually used for the spherical section there, would have cost over 15,000. So it pushed it quite expensive. Right now it's about 6,000, so just under 7,000 credits. So yeah, it's quite expensive if you want to use the upper section, or the I would say the latest technology that we have right now available to us on the probe core itself. So I've come down one single level just to bring this price down. And that's the shapes. Okay, so I'm gonna get this sorted out, put the fairings on. It's already been clamped, so it's just the fairings go on, and then we'll build it. So it shouldn't be doing too much more than 7 days, 19 hours, 10 minutes, but obviously with the fairings attached you might have to do a few more hours. Alright, so head straight out, let it build, roll it out, and head to the launch pad. Okay, so apart from Telstar, we also have Vostok 4. Regardless of history, I'm going to make Vostok 4 try and break the 3-day crewed orbit record. So we've done 2 days, one day, we've done 2 days, I'm going to do 3 days. But right now, I'm going to concentrate on doing Telstar 1. So that's Telstar 1, and hopefully, it should have enough power in its solar panels to keep itself alive. There's no station keeping capability because there wasn't any original. So I'm just going to throw it up there, fire the SRB when it gets to the periapsis again. And hopefully, like I said, there's no actual specification statements in. There's no statement as far as the contract's concerned when it comes to the orbit specifics. So as long as it's in orbit, it makes no difference. So it's the 12th of June 1957. 11:51, come up to 11:52. Alright, so let's head to the launch pad. Okay, so at the launch pad, Telstar 1. Well, I said in the VAB, I didn't believe there was any specification for the orbit for this contract, but I was taking a look. It would appear this is basically not an historically accurate contract, because it was 492 kilometers by 6,500 kilometers from what I can remember from memory. It was not 900 kilometers at periapsis, nowhere near. So let's go to 900 kilometers and push the apparatus up to as high as I possibly can. It probably won't reach 6,500 kilometers because I've only got a very small SRB and it's only very low powered. So it's 900 kilometers minimum at the periapsis. Let's check that. Right, SS is on. Just align the something I did neglect to tell everyone, I've updated and upgraded the textures for a real solar system to the top level. I noticed there's a little bit of sort of blockiness at certain altitudes, so I thought I'll put the top level textures in. They look a bit nicer. Don't think it doesn't seem to affect performance too much. Right, so here we go then. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to separate the first stage once we pass 140 kilometres. We should be just over a minute to the apoapsis when that happens. Yeah, I noticed it wobbles slightly on the launch pad, like I said, when it loaded in. Sometimes it does that and sometimes it doesn't. You can't sort of predict when it's going to be doing it. It might be an idea, if it's really important for a stable launch, is to check for it doing that. Okay, and then just leave this launch pad and load the game back in, go back to space and load the launch pad back in, so the physics loads back. It's something you seem to get this problem with the physics when it loads in. So first stage separation now. So about 60 seconds I'm going to initiate the ullage burn and then ignite the second stage. I've got full throttle on the second stage. .30 seconds. Seconds. Switch to free camera view. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, ullage. on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, Okay, so that's the initial orbit, 978 kilometers by 186. See if I... Yeah, obviously it's periaxis 186, isn't it? So at the upper axis, about 47 minutes, I'm going to light the SRB. Yep. Alright. I'm going to leave it on that. I'm going to turn that off. So I might use what's left in this engine as well. I may do. Because this SRB will not get it to 6,500 kilometers, that is for certain, it's just too small. With a 2.9 second burn time. That's a fair stage. No, it's not. Oh, that was a tick, wasn't it? Oh, there we go. 3,360.2 from a value of 4,314. That's not bad, it's about 1,000 lost or so. Okay, let's head round to the upper axis and then burn. Obviously, I'll just separate first. Unless I want to use these, I suppose. So I'll use the RCS in this stage, in the second stage, to correct the alignment. Go on a little bit faster. Going well off prograde. That was a bit weird, seems to be increasing electric charge. Oh, of course, I'm going slightly off. Yeah, the solar panels aren't in direct sunlight. I've not actually checked those to see if they actually do power the probe card. This shouldn't cause too much of a problem, even if I have to shut the probe card down for a while. But it's just a basic contract. Okay, about 2 minutes. So bring the RCS online, down to low power. It's not too far out. Not too much for correction needed. So we've only got a single ignition menu on this. So put that there, because the SRB, like I said, is not going to have enough to kick it into a decent. I'm not even going to attempt to go to 6,500 kilometers. The upper axis, it's impossible with an SRB this size. There's just no way of doing that. It's close to the program marker than I thought it would be, so there's no reason to panic like that. One thing I've got to make sure of it. Whoa. RCS jammed. We've got 3 others. It's only, I don't know if it's one nozzle or if it's an entire cluster. So it means we've only got 3 left. Should it still be enough to stabilise it? We'll do a second ignition on this. Very unstable. And still very unstable. Yeah, we don't have the oh, there we go. Took a while. We'll give it plenty of time. Alright, so ignition in 3, 2, 1. So look, about 4,000 kilometres. My calculation are correct, it should, the SRB should provide about 3,000 kilometres in altitude. So that would be 4, 5, 6, 7, after 7,000, hopefully. Hopefully. Alright, so I'm going to put this back onto stability mode. So it's leaking, but it's not actually providing any thrust. It's very interesting. Very interesting effect. Yeah, RSS is turned off, so it's obviously leaking. Just hope it doesn't make it unstable. Okay, so I'm going to... Periapsis in 2 hours, but obviously we just passed the apoapsis, so I'm going to separate now. If it lets me. Okay, before it goes off progress, so ignition in 3, 2, 1. Oof, well over. Whoops a daisy. So it's well over 3,500 kilometres. For crikey, that was a lot more. Right, so launched by NASA aboard a Delta rocket from Cape Canaveral on July the 10th, 1962. Telstar was the first privately sponsored space launch. A medium altitude satellite, Telstar was placed in an elliptical orbit, completed once every 2 hours and 37 minutes, a bit more than that. It's more like 4 hours, nearly 5 hours on hours. Never mind. Inclined at an angle of approximately 45 degrees to the equator. Yeah, but along which sort of angle, which, you know. No, never mind. The per gave about 952 kilometres. Oh, sorry, yeah, my apologies. It was 592 miles. I was working from memory anyway, and that would give about 5,930. I got that about right, 6,000 kilometres or so. 3,687 miles from Earth. This limited communications across the Atlantic to a 20-minute period in the 2.5-hour orbit. Yeah. So it's 952 kilometres by 5,933 kilometres. So I got over 1 million for that. Very lucrative contract, that. And I'm going to be sucking all the money I've made doing what I want to do in the future. So I've got 5 science and 10 reputation on top of that as well. So that'll come in handy. Yeah, let's just stop working here with the other. I'm going to decouple the SRB. Right, so it's gone on to 0.18. That should easily be compensated for with all the 16 solar panels on this. So that should be fine. Alright, so onward to the next contract on the list, which is well, actually technically it's not actually a contract, it's an achievement, but I'm going to go for a 3-day record. Yeah, it seems to be ticking all of them like going to orbit on one of these, but it's not a big deal. As long as they complete the contract in spirit, there's no reason why it's just forcing it to finish. So the other organisation scan of the moon, which is going to be quite interesting. I want to see how much Delta V it will take to get down onto the moon as well. Yep, there's no way I can do that right now. Vanilla 1. It would be pure guesswork. Okay, well that's Telstar 1. Completed in 1957 as opposed to 1962. Okay, so let's head back to the Space Centre and let's carry on.